go ahead and get started. For those of you who have not met yet, my name is Tom Blanford. I'm on the Cedar Falls City Council. I represent this district. I want to thank Mayor Jim Brown, Councilmember Rob Green, Councilmember Darrell Cruz, and the city staff. I believe that's everyone in attendance tonight. Thank you all very much for coming. This evening we have John Forrester, who is our parking consultant from WGI. He's going to go through a brief presentation, review some of the survey results. Hopefully you all have an opportunity to take that. Go a little bit of analysis and then have time for questions at the end. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded for Channel 15 and live streamed as well. And John will repeat questions at the end. Okay, do you have anything else before we get started? Does anyone have any questions right before we kick off? All right, I'll turn it over to John. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And again, the purpose of the meeting is we're still gathering information, we're still listening, we're still talking. I don't have any recommendations today, so to speak, but we're going to talk out in cars and looking around, and we're going to talk about what those pain points are in the district and what's going on. So just a quick run through of the scope of work and what we're doing. We've completed the inventory, we've done car counts over several days, we've had interviews with certain stakeholders in the area, and done an online survey. That's what we've completed. The work we still need to do is parking impact analysis on any developments that may be out there, looking at enforcement and comp cities, looking at technology and policies and regulations, and again, that whole concept of looking what the hill might look like in the future if things change. The focus of the study is on how parking is managed and how the city's using the on-street and off-street assets that they own. So some of the information we got from stakeholders and others as we went through this, and we say it all the time, but you know, when you've got parking problems, that means things are going well. That means you've got more people in your area buying and spending and living and doing and playing, and it's a really good thing. Note that College Hill is a bit of a parking lot for UNI. Well, they are the demand generator. There wouldn't be much parking need up there if the university wasn't there, and we can all admit that. Northern Iowa, you know, a lot of the students live in state, a lot of them drive. Current enrollment's about 11,000. It's been slipping a little over the last several years. That multimodal transportation center sits there as the only garage in the area. We're going to talk a little bit more about that multimodal center because it does sit there, and I counted that thing 7 times over 2 days, and there's always a couple hundred empty spots in there. Who in here thinks anybody can park in there for any reason, that you don't have to have a permit? That is correct. There are 100 spaces on the top floor that you can park there. You just have to pay, but you don't have to be going to the university. You don't have to be using it, and that is they don't sign it that way. It's not shown that way. You kind of have to figure that out on your own, but there are spaces in there that are open to the general public. And I think that where the garage sits and how it's used there's some general misconceptions about that. We did meet with the College Hill Partnership. We met with neighborhood businesses, developers, several landlords, the UNI parking manager, and even the student liaison from the university. So we talked to all these people either on phone or face-to-face and had interviews with them. And some of what they said is the district has really been improving over the last several years. Some business owners feel that, let me go back. These are people's opinions. I'm not stating these as facts. These are what some people told us. So feel free to disagree. Business owners feel that the city has not paid as much attention as they have to downtown. A lot of people are in favor of a little more density in the area, connecting the upper and lower hill and having continuous building fronts, more like downtown, would add some vibrancy to the area. Snow removal in the city lots, the lots are older and the pavement is older. It's in a little rough shape in places. You do see no parking signs everywhere. That is a telltale indicator that you have some success. When there are "do not park here, you will be towed" signs, that's another indicator that you are having success. And then business owners believe that parking enforcement is inconsistent. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Cars are parked for days at a time without moving. The UNI shuttles are hard to find. Another misconception, that off-campus students are not allowed to buy on-campus parking permits. They are. And they can buy the B permit, which allows them to park in several lots till 1 a.m., and they can buy the R permits that allow them to park overnight and actually store their car on campus. That is allowed. That northeast area of campus, which butts right up to College Hill, that's the crux of everything. There's a lot of people want to be in that area of campus. So some people said, it's rare for me not to be able to find a spot. And I can confirm the second one, the metered lot, almost always has plenty of spots. And some people said the only people opposed to new developments are the existing landlords. So, let me step out a little bit here. Did some parking counts, and this is during the day. This is a morning count, about 9:30 to 11:30. And this is a city-owned lot, this is a city-owned lot. So the red means it's above 85% occupied when I counted it. Green means it's under 60. So you can see a lot of the streets, Myrner and Campus, Olive and Walnut over here. A lot of the streets are pretty busy, filled with cars. This lot is filled with cars. The city-owned parking lots are actually fairly empty at this time. So that's the morning occupancy. Anybody have any questions about that? Want to look at it a little longer?
What time?
9:30 to about 11:30. So clearly, the further you get away from campus, the less intense the parking demand is. So this is afternoon, roughly 1:30 to 3:30. Pretty similar. Actually starts to thin out a little bit over here. A little bit up here. This lot's still full. These lots are still empty. Interestingly, what I did find is that there's a lot of rules up there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, no parking. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, no parking. Different times, different days. People kind of follow the rules. There's not a lot of, it's not the Wild West up there. People do follow the rules, but there are a lot of cars and there are a lot of people moving back and forth. This lot is always full, but people do continue to come and go from it. They don't pull in at 8 and stay all day. There may be a few, but I saw tickets on cars. I saw tickets on cars around the streets. I saw tickets on cars in there. So, but my observations of spending 12 hours in the area on 2 consecutive days were people do use that lot a lot, but they do come and go. And so this is a Thursday evening, an entertainment night. You can see the city-owned lots do start to fill up and the streets are full, but these streets back here emptied out a little bit. These stay full all the time. And I noticed that, and anybody who's here with any regularity knows that. Any questions on occupancy before I move on to the online survey and the results of that? Okay. So, survey was taken. Pretty good response, 484 people, not quite as many as downtown, but a good mix of people. A lot of visitors, a lot of students, a lot of people who own property or work in the district. Main purpose is really entertainment and to be there for events and to have a good time. So I'm going to run through a series of slides that really are in tandem. There's one slide that is customers, employees, and owners, or residents, and the next one is mostly due to the university. Same question, different set of respondents. And so this one, what this says and what the next one says about the students is pretty much everybody drives. And when they drive, they park a lot in the district on the municipal-owned facilities, either the city streets or the city lots. The one exception here is the UNI employees who have permits, and they tend to park in the UNI lots. How important is parking as it relates to your decision to visit the district? Again, both sets of, pretty much split, both sets of UNI-related people and customers, employees, and owners, right down the middle, that about 50% say it's an important consideration, that when I'm going to the Hill, I think about parking. This is always a fun question in any city, in any location, is how far are you willing to walk? And willing and what's acceptable and what you want all can kind of be different things. We like to park right out front for free and walk a few steps into our location. That's what we do at home, by and large, and that's what we'd like to do when we go places. But people, I think, gave fairly reasonable responses here. A majority of people said they would walk, 2 to 3 blocks, which I think is a reasonable distance to walk in a city like Cedar Falls. And again, the students, I was actually a little surprised by the student response because they walk all over all day. And so for them to say, oh, I don't want to walk any more than 2 blocks kind of surprised me because they easily walk multiple times more than that every day. So, do you believe that parking should be more strictly enforced in the area? And I did find this interesting as well. The people who get tickets, the students and the residents, would like less enforcement. The people who want more access to the spaces and probably don't get as many tickets would like more enforcement. And so that makes sense, that the user type wanting it. I did see tickets when I was up there, both days that I was there. There is some level of enforcement there. How long do they stay? This was interesting only in its comparison to downtown. People spend less time on the hill than they do downtown. But still, right in that 1 to 2 hour range is your sweet spot, and most of your time parking is in there, 1 to 2 hour range. How would you characterize your ability to find a spot? So this really is opinion here, is how easy is it to find a spot? And a lot of people did say, I have some difficulty. The yellow and then the light blue at the bottom are somewhat difficult and inconvenient. And as you can see, a lot of people marked those as higher on their list. So the perception that it's hard to park there on a weekday is out there. Lunchtime, even worse. A lot of light blue. Very difficult to find a spot when I'm looking at lunchtime. Same with the UNI staff. Evening or weekend, same thing. People say they have a hard time finding a parking space. Again, I say this is their perception of what's going on out there. Evening and weekend. And back to this question, does the availability of parking influence your decision to visit the district? And virtually everyone says yes, it has an impact. The availability, do I know when I show up that I'm going to have a space? And that does impact their decision. Okay, so we dabbled into and again, this isn't a recommendation by any stretch, but we dabbled into the thought process of paid parking and would you be willing to pay if you could park a little closer? And this is actually very consistent with what we see across the country, is employees and owners say no, but the customers, the people actually going to the venues, they're willing to pay a little if it means they can park close and know it's not about parking close, it's not about paying, it's about knowing that I have a spot. That when I get there, there'll be something for me and I won't have to drive around for 20 minutes, that I can park even if I've got to pay, and I can go right in. And you can see students, they don't want to pay at all. They're more willing to park. So you have a different behavior pattern and demographics in that the students are more willing to walk for free. If you push them out a little, they're willing to walk those 3 blocks for free. Whereas your customers, they'd like to be a little closer, and they're willing to pay for that privilege. And I did find this interesting as well. UNI students freely admit they use the city's facilities, the on-street and the off-street city lots, the off-campus UNI students. A good chunk of them do park on campus. So they know they can get those B permits and find a spot, but a lot of them are parking, well over 50%, 56% are parking in city facilities as well. Evenings and weekends, they fill up even more. But they do use some, these are their residents, but they fill the streets and the free lot. This is something that has changed a lot over the last 15 years, is A lot of students work, they have other things going on, they use their car very often. So they not only they're not just bringing their car to school, dumping it and picking it up before Thanksgiving, but they're using it every day. They do need access to it. To have it a mile away or something like that, it can be, is problematic to them. So, this is just a little breakdown demographics of where they live. That's a pretty good mix, I think, across of what type of places they live, the off-campus students live. The bus, the shuttle, which we heard was hard to recognize and hard to use, it has low ridership numbers. What low ridership of a bus tells me is that the parking's easy. Because if the parking was really difficult or really expensive, they'd be on the bus. So actually it might be nice if these numbers got a little lower and the bus got a little more use. So that's the information we've gathered so far. What we've got to do is finalize some of those I listed before. We're going to finalize the inventory and the occupancy data and finish off our other analysis. And now our second workshop that we have, we'll want to present findings and recommendations, and then we'll talk about some things that we suggest for the district. But tonight I want to ask a couple questions and get people's responses so that I understand where the community is coming from on this. And first question I want to ask is just enforcement. So one at a time, just what do you think about the enforcement levels on the Hill, parking enforcement?
I own a business on College Hill. It's been almost annoyingly uniform. The problems that arose, I don't know if they were tied to the, our winter was very severe.
Yes.
We definitely had some problems, October, November, December, maybe in there and somewhere. And I've heard something about personal issues with because you basically have one person. Before that, to me, it was rock solid.
Okay.
So the problems I'm aware of.
By annoyingly uniform, you mean the exact same route, exact same thing every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
My business is lower in G, so I'm primarily, that lot that is on 22nd, that
Okay.
area of parking.
Anybody else on enforcement?
I'll just remark that, it may be appropriate, but it's also sort of cruel when you have that snow. It's the only time they ticket them for being there over 48 hours because the snow shows they haven't moved. And that's when the students really can't move their cars sometimes. So, it may be good, but it may be cruel.
Understood. Yes? Is there somebody else?
One of the things that they need to become more aware of is the fact that the kids have gotten pretty smart on this business of getting the ticket. I have kids who carry tickets with them all the time to slip onto their windshield wiper. And the only way to stop that is if the police are willing to get out of their vehicle and read all those tickets, because some of those tickets are a month to 2 months old. The kids, they just laugh at me when I call them.
It's a good old trick.
I sell mine, but I do have real estate rentals around the campus, and I do see tickets out. Some of mine are every other day, Tuesday, opposite parking on Wednesday, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I do see enforcement. That's why I sell my tickets at a great market for.
Anyone else? Yes.
It's a big money generator for the city.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think one of the frustrating things for people that had received so many tickets is that we see a lot of enforcement, but not a lot of support from the city side as far as maintaining those lots. So perception is we get the last round of snow removal, the last round of, you can check out the lots, there's some disrepair, we get the last round
Sure.
of repair. yet we have the best enforcement.
Okay, got it. Anything else?
I know there's no way to control this, but one of the things that happens to us is when they park in our private parking, by the time we call a tow truck, you might wait. It's too late. I mean,
Yeah, they take off.
They know that I came by, and they're going to be gone. Especially if it's 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There I sat waiting for a tow truck, and most of my tow companies won't want to come at that time in the morning. So the kids know that if they park in my parking, that they can sit there all night, because I'm not going to come in there and call them a tow truck. The way the system's set up, I have to be there, and I have to tell the tow company that it's okay to tow that car out of my tenant's parking.
Sure.
Because my parking's all assigned.
They have liability, yep. Yes?
I think there's some inconsistencies as far as the enforcement when it comes to, there's signs that say no back-in parking in certain lots. There's a sign that says no more than 2 hours per day. I've worked up here for a number of years, and I received a ticket one day because I was there for 20 minutes, and then I came back later that day and I got a ticket when I was there about an hour and 40 minutes. And of all the years I've been up here, I've never noticed that, and the sign got pointed out to me. And then there's some times where you'll see tow trucks in that one lot that's usually completely empty or under 60%, that they'll park and take up 6 spots, and they'll be there all day. And I don't know what they're doing or where they're at.
Okay.
We see that happen quite a bit. So there's inconsistencies as far as who is enforced and how it's enforced and when it's enforced. So I think that becomes a little bit of a deterrent for some people when they get a ticket for their tire being on the line, and then they get a ticket, and then the next time they might not be, so.
Anyone else?
I can make just one remark that maybe not recently, but in past years, I've seen them ticketing before 8 in the morning. Now I don't know whether there was some other violation. So this is on the alternate side, and there was someone was putting something on the windshield before 8 in the morning.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. We talked about it a little bit, but I did want to clarify the transit center garage. Who does, I kind of already let the cat out of the bag, but who thinks there's confusion about what that's for and who can use it? And does anybody have any comments about that? Like I said, there's empty spaces in there that are available for the public. Would you use that? Would you pay to park in there if you knew, hey, I could just go there and not have to deal with any other hassle?
It's in an awkward place. It's just far enough away.
Okay.
You could probably get lucky with something closer. There's 2 distinct parking periods, winter and then the rest of the year. I think even in the winter, you'd probably be better off. You can probably find something on 22nd.
Just a little too
Depending on where
far.
you're going on the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, I walk my dog up there almost every day, and I knew there were some metered spots, but I didn't know there was as many as them.
Yeah.
So I think the signage is an issue.
It is. And they do send people, I mean, if you're a visitor to the university, that's one place they tell you, go park there and pay the meter and visit the university.
I think it's convenient for some, right? So David,
Sure.
it's inconvenient for people using the hill, but as you showed, there's 2 streets. I lived in those dorms right there, and I parked on that street for the whole time. And that was to save money, but if those streets would be
Over here, Myrner and Campus.
Campus and Myrner, that if you would have a metered situation there and it wasn't free, it'd be a heck of a lot more convenient for people to pay to park in the ramp than park
Right.
on those 2 streets. And then also, the kids, the other free lot that you showed is mostly full. If you go there now, the school's out, it's not going to be full. Right?
It's not going to be full.
So if those kids had to pay to park in that lot, it would be once again more convenient to park. So it is inconvenient for the district, but it's not inconvenient for students.
You've hit on a very important thing so the university sits here and they generate all this demand. They are the engine for everything, all this activity. And they have a parking market. Because if you park on the university at all, you pay one way or another. You buy a permit, or you pay to park at a meter, or something like that. The city is providing free parking all over here. So you have a market, a regulated market here, and free parking with some rules over here. Who do you think is going to get taken advantage of most? It's going to be the free parking that's going to get taken advantage of the most. And that's one of the issues that I see up there is working a little more with the university, because they've established that paid parking works and we can get money for it, and people will be part of it.
I have another, I thought it was interesting, you showed, can you go back to your initial slide about how full it is on the
Occupancy slides? Sure.
You didn't show, just this year, the university bought the bookstore, and
Right.
they installed the meters. Yep.
Right, yep.
And that became a meter lot.
Yep.
So it's all full, right in red, I agree with that. But the school did, create an example. What would happen if you meter it? And you didn't study that to see?
I counted it. There's plenty of spaces in that lot all day long.
Yeah, and so it's just, I think that is proof of a concept, because for years that was full too. Before it was me, this was the first year.
Oh, that's just this year.
Yeah, they just bought it, and that's the first year it was metered. And up until now, if you'd have shown this map last year, it would have been full.
Okay.
Brent, if my kids there across the street park over there, when it was still the bookstores, then my kids they would catch the Dickens, and most of them would get them moved right away. They were in my kids' park over there.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be the same rules as the one that's completely red. It was the same rules as the one that's completely red.
But didn't U-Book change it up at a certain point? Because it's always been, private. And then it's not all municipal, of course.
Right.
So, and obviously the spot that you and I took off is the private.
Right.
But I think they used to put like a catalog on that for a certain time.
No, we never did. We tried to monitor it as best we could during normal business hours. And yeah, we did ticket, because we could see some of the people consistently being there. And it was probably your channels. And then we would jump on them, but, we let it be a free-for-all from 5 o'clock on. It was a great, at night when I would come up there, it was always full. But for the most part, it would empty out during the day. But there were times it was full a lot during the day, which created problems for our customers at times.
Multimodal parking ramp is expensive. It doesn't allow overnight parking. You have a climb up and climb down the stairs, and there's a little elevator. But it's not that user friendly. It's hard to pay. I think last time I was there, I had to have cash. It wasn't taking credit or debit cards. You can double check that. But it's not, if you're going to a conference at UNI, it's great. If you're going to University Book and Supply, not so great.
Sure.
I mean, it's close, but you still have a vertical transit there. Most people are taking the stairs, so you can add another block. The other thing, just in general, to comment on this study, when I look at the borders, it worries me that I'm not seeing that there's an examination of what happens as you increase parking pressures by metering spots and whatnot. People do move out to those free spots, which moves people out
Right.
of residential neighborhoods. I'm sure you think so.
Well, the whole concept of if you make this more difficult, say you were to meter it or somehow regulate it so that people couldn't park there, would they push out here? There's a human behavior element that comes into play is, okay, at what point do I stop, do I not push any further and I just buy a B permit so I can park down here and have a spot because this is too far away. I mean, people are here because it's close, it's easy, and it's free. And even if I have a permit, but I can park right here and I want to be there, why would I park over here or over here even if I have a permit?
Which you're just looking at the people that are looking to park in that central spot, but when you look at the people a block away that normally park a block away, 2 blocks away because they live there, they now are moving.
Right.
It's them that are moving
Right.
further up. It's not the people from the center that are moving up.
Yes.
Okay, there are 2 issues here. One is parking during the day, the other is parking at night. You said that off-campus students can buy university permits. That's for commuting students. I don't know, what does the R permit entitle you to?
I'd have to pull, the R permit allows, I believe, 24-hour parking in the R lots, and they are,
Off by the,
they're both well over here.
right. I mean, maybe if the university would consider selling 24-hour permits in the parking garage or in the parking lot by the lab school to off-campus students, some of those students who live in the neighborhood might actually buy them, so they wouldn't have, because it'd be more a reasonable price than the day price at the parking garage, and it might, loosen up the areas a little.
And it's worth talking to the university about what they're willing to do to work with the city on those things. So we did talk with them, and it's worth continuing to talk and see how those things can be done. There is a fair amount of parking in the area, and how it's used and how it's managed. That's what we're focused on in the state, is how is it managed and how do you use it effectively. Yes. Oh, real quick, we are live. And I have the only mic for the live. So if you ask a question, I'll repeat it so that they at least know what my response is to the question.
I was just going to say, one reason that the parking garage might not be full is just because it's pretty easy to actually park closer.
It is, yeah. This lot, this B lot, that's right next to the garage, which is a student lot, that thing's hopping. Over 100% full. Almost all day long, up until 3:34. So students want to be on this side of campus, and that's a nice lot for them.
Is there an example of a question that was raised, maybe from a different city, that you could study to see what happens when you do meter close? Do they in fact move out farther, or do they, what you said, they start to bypass? I mean, because it's a good question to be raised, would this just make the problem somewhere else?
The truly price sensitive will move. That sliver of people who said, I'll walk 3 or 4 blocks for free parking will move. But that question about how far are you willing to walk, 2 to 3 blocks, that really is a key indicator of what you've got. If suddenly I've got to walk 4 blocks to get to this building and I can buy a B permit and I don't have to worry about getting a ticket and other stuff, I'm just going to do that. At some point you just say I'm going to do it. The B permit, I believe, is $90 a year, give or take. I think that's right. I apologize for not knowing that off the top of my head. But the permits at UNI are not, I mean, yes, it's another expense on top of everything else you're spending, but they're not completely outrageous.
Your example of the 2 or 3 blocks, being willing to walk takes you completely outside, again, your area of study. So you're not looking at that impact.
Right.
And 2 to 3 blocks takes in a lot of residential area.
So I didn't do counts, but I did drive over here, and things definitely, right now, that's not happening. With the scenario is, if we did something different in here, would it push out there? There would be some. I can't tell you exactly how much that would be. But Yeah, again, it goes back to human nature. Once you push someone 3 or 4 blocks away from their destination, they'll make radically different decisions. Inside 4, they'll live with it. Outside 4, then they start to look for something different. And then there's just cost level variations. What am I willing to pay so my life's not miserable anymore? You had a question back there?
I was just kind of, this might be a really hard question, and maybe, and I don't know how much time you have. Was there any kind of correlation as far as the university, as far as class times or days with some of the parking and where it might have been? Because I have noticed up there, I mean, you can, if you're late to class or you have a 45-minute class, you can go in and be out before, you know, somebody would ever come check your car.
Sure.
At the same time, it kind of correlates to the next person coming in 45 minutes for that, you know, it's 4 cars in, you know, 3.5 hours between 9:30 and
Sure.
1 o'clock. And I didn't know if that had any kind of correlation with the classes that are around those buildings that are the most conveniently parked right there.
This lot is a 2-hour parking lot. We're on Thursday night, but if you go to the daytime, it's a 2-hour parking lot, and people, I saw them pull in, run to class, one class, or they've got one thing to do on campus, they do something over in here, and they head back, and they're gone. They're not breaking any rules. It's a 2-hour lot. They're just living within the guidelines that are there. So yeah, that happens.
What's the closest distance to the next university parking lot besides that ramp in that area?
I don't have that map up. The closest,
If it's not the ramp right there, is it clear across campus?
over here and down here. Most of the university's parking is over here,
You have C parking by the former lab school.
up here,
Yeah.
this lot.
CP and C, yes.
Yeah. There's some, yeah, so there's some up here. There's a fair amount over here, and then there's some down here. So I'll put out a question out there then. If you could just change one thing about the parking on the hill, what one thing would you think would make the biggest difference? Or what's the biggest pain point? What's the biggest issue?
The best spot to park is the red one. For my customers. That's the best spot. I mean, that's where everybody wants to be because it's free and it's closest to majority of.
It's closest to all this.
So
Yeah.
if there was one thing that I would say is to change the rules for that lot. I've never understood why we're metering the lot back off of behind, which
This one.
why are we metering that one, but not the best one? It just, I don't get it.
Well, the red one's metered.
The red one is not metered.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you have, she's going by and marking.
Yeah, we know that.
Whatever you want to call metered, you can't park there as long as.
It's time limited.
2 hours. Yeah, you don't have to, it's free.
Right, but I mean, you can't, right.
It's free but time limited. This one, you have to pay to be in at all. So yes, I understand what you're saying.
Of course, it used to be. Not that long ago.
Right. And what was it like back then?
I was younger and did not even think about it. I mean, both of my businesses have young clientele. And I run a bar, and we're in our 7th year, and I've never talked to a customer about parking. And I'm not making that up. It's just not.
They're figuring it out.
It's just not, you know, the retail business next door once in a while, but not very often. And they're extremely young, they're excited about stuff, it's parking is it's over here, it's not here.
Sure.
I understand if you're looking at an older demographic, it's a bigger issue.
Anyone else? One thing?
Well, my previous comment, be interested to see if the university could provide $90 a year overnight parking. Some of the people who live in the converted houses, you know, might take that option if there were lots near their houses. And that would make the overnight situation a little nicer.
The meters in the green are old school and they want to take change.
Yes.
Sorry, well, do you have an idea of how many actual parking spaces that UNI actually has?
How many UNI has?
How many, on UNI campus, how many parking spots do they have?
I think he sent me that information, but I don't sure.
7,000 students, and I'm assuming that's not including faculty and staff.
Right. I don't know off the top of my head.
I'd be curious to figure that out, if they're 50% parked for the occupancy between students, faculty, and staff. Are they 100%?
They have capacity. They have empty spots. What I see at most universities around the country is because of schedules and everything else, most universities have between, say there's 10,000 students, they'll have 4,000 to 5,000 parking spaces. 40 to 50% of the student population, they'll have that in parking spaces for the whole, for everybody, faculty, staff, students. But no, talking to the parking manager at UNI, they have capacity. If for some reason something changed and some of these students were no longer allowed to park here, the university could absorb them. But I don't have an exact number on that. Anyone else?
Just mentioned that that capacity will include the dome lots, which are even further away
Yeah.
than some of the other lots.
If I had a map of the university, of the whole university, you'd see the same thing. The lots right around it are full, and the ones way out here have room. Just human nature.
And the buses go there?
The bus, they do, but my guess is it's faster to walk. So, yes.
If I was gonna make one change, just put more meters, but make it easier to pay with your phone.
I didn't catch what he said.
He said if he would make one change, he'd say put up more meters, but make it easy to pay with your phone.
When you're talking about meters, are you talking about meters just in the city lots, or are you talking about meters on the street parking as well?
I guess I was thinking mostly about the lots.
Yeah. The interest, and I'm not recommending paid parking, let's not start that, but paid parking is a tool to manage demand. That's what costs are, you know, because some people say, oh, I'll park a little farther away or walk, or they'll do different things. That's how you manage behavior. So your thought process of, hey, I'm willing to pay if I know I have a spot, just make it easy for me, and I'll set up the app on my phone and I'll pay before I even get out of my car.
Actually, though, the number one thing I would do is make sure everybody knows that there's actually plenty of parking. More communication.
More communication.
You know, when you looked at the survey results didn't match the existing situation at all. Many people thought it was almost impossible to park, or very difficult, when it actually wasn't. You got this one lot's green a lot of the time.
I do think signage, wayfinding, communication is always key. And putting, you know, you want it to be intuitive to some, I mean, to some extent, you have to kind of be familiar. This lot's not easy to find if you're not familiar with the area. It's behind buildings, it's off this side street. This lot's, you know, you can pull in there, but that's a busy intersection. You know, this lot's accessed from here. So, you know, there's things like that that maybe make it a little easier to find, a little better signage and more of an interactive map. But the mobile payment, you know, if you have to pay, the mobile payment's awesome. And we're seeing that grow by leaps and bounds across the country, you know.
I think the lot that you're seeing that's empty is also in horrible, horrible shape. I know I avoid parking there because I don't feel like breaking an ankle just walking to my destination. And it's on it's on a steep slope to begin with, so when you have 4 or 5 months of icy winter weather, no, that's not going to be my number one spot to pull into, and I don't know why it's not getting maintained. I wouldn't say I would have a number one, number two thing. I would love to see that lot resurfaced and redone, and I'd love to see more public parking. For the concentration of people, it just seems like more public metered parking as a lot somewhere close in would make sense.
I can't tell red from green, but the green one is a little bit lot. Okay, we
Yeah.
have the building just across the street from that.
Here?
We park as many cars some nights in that parking lot as are in our private parking as are in the parking lot behind the OP.
Yeah, you'll see
We don't get calls on that.
up and down the street, there is you got a lot of these apartments, so there's a fair amount of parking buried within those blocks for the residents.
But we have one parking stall per bedroom on all of our properties.
Yes.
John, if you're looking for an idea, the first 2 or 3 blocks next to campus I'd consider resident-only parking.
Here?
Yes. And then if
Well,
you go south of University Avenue, 28th and 29th Street, I have a property there. And I regularly see UNI staff parking there in the morning, walk to, go to class and teach, and then they come back at 4 or 5 in the afternoon and leave. And they're using the street parking there.
Yeah. Okay. And then, like I said, the interesting thing is it's all within the rules, and they're not breaking any rules. Anybody have any questions about what we're doing, where we're trying to get? Staff, did you have anything else to add?
John, maybe just touch on any timing, next steps.
Yeah, so as we finish up this part, we've now got some work to do on analysis and really developing those recommendations. So sometime in the next 6 weeks, or give or take, we're going to come back and we're going to do another one of these with recommendations, and then we can talk about some of those things and throw up some ideas and see how that's going to go, and talk about how to manage this area in a way that's conducive to people using it, people getting to businesses, people parking at their residence, and least amount of hassle for everybody, but access for as many people as possible. Anything else? Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.